Hello folks, my name is Mark, this is Why I Hate the World, how you guys doing? And this is another video about Donald Trump because it looks like now, for better or worse, he's going to be the Republican nominee for president, which means that Trump is now one step away from being the president of the United States. And wow, I am a little blown away by that. I mean, please remember Donald Trump was a guy that when he started this had to hire people to come to his inauguration, his beginnings, his first speech. It was like empty. He was hiring actors and shit to come fill in his stadium. And now he's the nominee. Unfucking believable. These are strange times. Anyway, so unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that he's said more than a few very inflammatory, racist things. And it's no surprise that somebody like Trump is going to attract protesters. So one thing that I see, though, is that a lot of the Trump supporters, when they talk about protesters, they're saying that that the protesters are somehow violating their First Amendment rights, their right to free speech, their right to assembly by engaging in protest actions. And I just want to say that's a complete load of fucking bullshit. Okay, that has no basis in fucking reality. What people don't understand about the First Amendment is that it applies to the government, right? And it's designed to prevent the government from creating a law that takes away your freedom of speech, your freedom of assembly. It says Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right to peacefully assemble or to petition the government for redress of grievances, right? It doesn't apply to private companies or organizations, right? And that's why your employer can mandate a dress code. They can say, you need a button-down shirt with a collar and then casual Fridays. Or Disneyland can go, well, no people, we don't allow men to have mustaches. I mean, there was a Supreme Court case about that, I think, right? That's why your school can censor the school newspaper. Right, and they can decide what t-shirts you are and aren't allowed to wear, what it says on your shirt if it's too inflammatory or whatever, right? Or they can decide that, well, we're not going to do Jesus Christ Superstar as the school play this year. That's because you don't have freedom of speech when you're, on school grounds, the same way that you don't have freedom of speech when you're on your employer's, when you're at work, right? And you want to keep your job, that is, So, the same principle applies here, going to a Trump rally and yelling to get your message out, or holding up a sign and blocking people's view, or trying to hold your sign in front of the TV camera, shit like that. That's not, violating somebody else's freedom of speech. That's you expressing your own freedom of speech, right? Or the same way that, protesters, I saw a thing where they linked arms and they blocked a street to keep people from accessing the Trump rally. That's not actually preventing anybody's freedom of to peacefully assemble. That's not violating that right. Now, that might be illegal in other ways. There might be a local ordinance saying that you're not allowed to stand in the street like that, or it might be criminal trespassing, or it might break 100 different laws, but it's not violating, your First Amendment. That's complete fucking bullshit. And and there's people out there now that say that these acts are inherently violent in themselves. I've seen that argument from Trump people saying that this is violent and that justifies punching these people in the face. And to the people that say that, fuck you. All right, that's fucking bullshit. You're a moron. Okay. The whole point of protesting, peacefully protesting, is to disrupt. It's called peacefully protesting. It's peaceful protest because you're not engaging in acts of violence, right? Not, peaceful protest doesn't mean that it's not disruptive. It doesn't mean that you go stand in a fucking, designated free speech zone, 10 miles away from the protest and then wave your little sign there. No, it means you get up in people's faces and you fucking block, access to the venue, and you lay down and you do sit-ins and you chain yourself to the fucking whatever and all stuff like that. That's all peaceful protest, right? As long as you're not punching somebody, as long as you're not hitting somebody, that's peaceful protest. And to say that these acts are violent, that's complete fucking bullshit. That being said, there has been some violence from protesters at Trump rallies recently. Most, you know, most, the thing that comes to my mind is Costa Mesa about a week ago. And there were, you know, two groups of protesters outside of the stadium. One was a little more peaceful than the other one. And when the Trump supporters were coming out of the venue, it caused a little bit of chaos. And so by watching the news, you would think that this huge giant riot ensued. But when you actually look at the footage, it's pretty weak sauce for a riot. I mean, you know, there were some cop cars that got vandalized. And at one point, the crowd was trying to push a car over, you know, and they couldn't do it, right? Or they never actually finished doing it. And then at another point, some asshole was doing donuts in the middle of the road or something and put people in danger, and that's true. You know, people are in danger. Don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning any of these, you know, these criminal, violent acts that these people are doing. But, you know, they made it sound like it was fucking Kent State or whatever, and like fire hoses were turned on people and like, you know, hundreds of casualties and shit like that. It's like, no, something like 20 people got arrested. I mean, but there were some acts of violence, you know, most specifically a couple of Trump protesters got their asses beat this time. And I don't mean to giggle about that, but, you know, here's the thing though, is that it doesn't really surprise me that that happened, because there is a history of violence at Trump rallies going back to like, you know, December, November, right? And, you know, the history is that Trump supporters are usually beating the crap out of protesters. That's how it's been going this last, you know, 6, 7, 8 months. I mean, how many videos are of like, you know, Trump protesters getting punched in the face, getting kicked, getting shoved, you know, getting kicked out and for like not even doing anything, you know, getting harassed, getting beaten. You know, there's a real famous case of a guy like punching another guy in the face. And then there's one, my favorite one is where like all the people were saying Sig Heil and light him on fire and shit like that. You know, that's been happening for months now, right? It's been on the news. I mean, shit, I think Colbert made a fucking video about it. You know, it's just really like, you know, the Daily Show did a really good video compilation of Trump, you know, supporters beating up protesters, right? So, you know, don't get me wrong, I don't condone acts of violence. I don't support it, you know. And when I see something like what happened in Costa Mesa happen, I think it's wrong, and I think it's the wrong thing to do, and it gives the wrong message, you know. And it should be peaceful. If you want your protest to be effective, it needs to be peaceful. And the reason why is because you need to have the moral high ground, right? Because if you start beating people up, you're just going to turn people against you. And they're going to say, look, they're just violent thugs or whatever. Right. But, you know, at the same time, I don't feel too bad about these people getting beat up. I'm sorry, I just don't. Seeing how over the last, you know, 9 months, it's been the other way around. It's like, well, shit, maybe next time some of the Trump supporters will think twice before they actually punch somebody. You know, now I don't know if that's what happened here. I don't know who started what, or if it was the Trump guys who like started the fight, or if the protesters started the fight. And frankly, that's irrelevant. You know, what is relevant is that, you know, violence is happening, and it's happening only at Trump rallies. That's another point I want to bring up. You know, these same protesters went and they protested Bernie Sanders. You know, I don't know if you guys remember that. You know, Black Lives Matter came and like took the mic from him and stuff like that. And you know, and the same people go and they protest Hillary Clinton as well. And there's never any violence at their rallies. You know, no one is ever punching protesters in the face at a Bernie rally, right? There's no riots after a fucking Hillary Clinton rally, right? It doesn't degrade into utter fucking chaos, and the cops don't have to come and, you know, form a wall and disperse the crowd. So why is it only happening at Trump rallies, you know? I mean, you know, why is it, you know? Maybe it could be that just Trump supporters are, you know, fucking assholes, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe they're assholes. Maybe they're like white supremacist dickheads, you know, who are like deluding themselves into thinking they got a real candidate. And maybe it could be because Donald Trump has told people to like engage in violence. He's basically said, punch them in the face and I'll pay for the, you know, legal bills. You know, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they're more likely to be acts of violence at a Trump rally, because the candidate, Trump, is telling people to engage in violence, you know. Is Hillary Clinton telling people to punch people in the face? Is Bernie Sanders saying go punch people in the face and I'll pay your medical bills? No. All right. So, so I can't feel bad about it. It's more of like watching, two fucking criminals kill each other. It's like, well, there you go. I mean, what am I supposed to feel about this? It's wrong, right? But whose fucking fault is it? Okay. So before I go, I did want to say one thing, is that you do have a right to protest, right? Everybody has a right to protest anything that they want. It doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter what it is, right? So these protesters that go to Trump rallies, they have every right to be there, just like the Trump supporters do. And it's like, so don't let anybody tell you that, if you're a Trump, hater and you don't like him and you want to go protest him, don't let anybody tell you that, what you're doing is wrong or illegal, because it's not, right? I mean, it's not immoral. I don't know. The actual action you engage in may be illegal, and that's completely up to you whether or not you want to engage in any kind of like sit-in or, obstruction type protest or whatever. But if you just want to go and like, express your message and hold a sign and talk to people, right? I encourage you, me personally, I encourage you to do it, because that's America. That's freedom of speech. Go fucking protest, and don't let anybody tell you not to do it. Just, the thing is that when it degrades into a fucking fist fight, something went wrong, right? And it's got to be peaceful, has to be peaceful protest, or else it's just, it's ultimately self-defeating. So, anyway, adios, folks.